It's the end of a World Championship week that should have had a happy, exuberant and celebratory feel to it. Instead, the cycling world is in mourning following the death of junior rider Muriel. She was just 18. We'll round up this week's races. We'll bring you some reaction to what's happened at the Worlds, but this programme is dedicated to the memory of Muriel.
Silent minutes of respect and reflection were held at the beginning of both elite road races, with Swiss riders in particular visibly affected by the news that a crash in the junior race had cost their teammate her life. The grieving family had expressed their wish through a UCI statement for the championships to continue, and the women's elite road race got going in tough, rainy conditions. With a lap of the testing circuit to go, Netherlands had 2 riders in a front group of 4, a numerical advantage and a gap of a minute on the chasers. It wasn't just any advantage, however. As well as Kekira and Rosemond Gannon of Belgium and Australia respectively, Marcus and Vos, a 3-time champion at her 17th Worlds, also the likely fastest finisher in the group. An ideal situation perhaps, but others wearing orange had other ideas. As well as pacing at the front of the race, it turned out that the Dutch also began pacing behind. All that opened the door for attacks from the second group, with Longo Borghini obliging 20 kilometres from the finish. The groups came together with 13 Ks remaining, then just 3,000 metres further up the road, Following attacked. Unable to shake everyone else, the only riders she seemed to be dropping were her own teammates. Longo Borghini then had a gap with 5 kilometres remaining, but for the umpteenth time, it would come all back together. From that small bunch, Lotte Kopecky, who had ridden a gritty race, hanging tough and staying in contention, was able to sprint home to a second world title in succession. The Belgian superstar becoming the first rider since Vos herself, just over a decade ago, to successfully defend her road rainbow jersey. For the record, Netherlands finished 5th, 8th and 9th. The winner, she had this to say.
Again, for the second consecutive year. Well, tell us what's going through your mind right now. There was a big smile on your face when you passed the line, and astonishment.
Yeah, I was kind of disbelief, but yeah, first of all, I want to bring my condolences to the family of Muriel. I think also the minute of silence at the start, seeing the Swiss riders crying is something you just don't want to see, and I think it's a very hard moment for them as well.
It's a title for you, it's a title for her as well.
Yes, you can say that.
Take us through the race. It's the victory of your legs, of course. It's also the victory of your mind and your head.
Yeah, for sure, one of my head. Yeah, it was a really annoying day because it was raining, it was not warm, but on the climbs it was warm, and then in the downhill you got so cold, and I was from 3 laps from the end, I was actually freezing. But then I tried to keep my head as cool as possible, and on the steeper climb I didn't had any troubles, but then the longer one, on the final time when Demi went, I had some difficulties. But I just tried to stay my own pace and come back at my own pace, and then in the end it was just a lot of mind games, and then it's just trying to stay as cool as possible, and to use your energy at the right moment.
And that last sprint, you knew you had the advantage?
Yeah, well, the Australian rider came from the back with speed, and then Demi reacted immediately, which was perfect for me.
273 kilometres and 4,500 metres of climbing lay in front of the men's elite peloton when they set off from Winterthur to Zurich a day later. After an early break took a while to be established, the biggest news came from abandons. Former 2-time world champ Alaphilippe, Landa, Almeida and Skjelmose all having to step off before the action really got going. After a false start from Castrillo, the real proceedings kicked off through Vine, who took a group of World Tour stars with him. The strength of it was such that many would have been left wondering whether to stay or go with them. Too early, surely. Not, however, for Pogacar. Used to long-range moves, he waited the best part of another lap, but at 100 kilometres from the finish? Surely not. Luckily for Pog, his teammate Tratnik had made it into that Vine-inspired group of 10 and soon dropped back to help pull the Slovenian up to the rest. Belgium continued to ride and pull behind, but so too did the man who wins everything from out in front. There were moves, there were attacks. There was a big counter-attack from Ben Healy and from Tom Squinch. Behind they tried to get to them. There were some tremendous survivors, there were some big names. Van der Poel and Evenepoel were still there, others with them as well, and one by one they all started to attack. But it was that attacking and that stop-start that was favouring Pogacar in front, who had been with Sivakov, a trade teammate, but representing France, of course, here, before dropping him at just over 50 k's to go. Solo and out in front. It got to the last lap, almost a minute of a gap. Then, on the final couple of climbs, things began to change. Pogacar had missed a bidon the lap before. Had he fed? Had he watered? How was he feeling? There was renewed commitment behind, and the time gap had fallen to half a minute, almost at the top of the final climbs. Seconds seemed to be disappearing. We wondered whether Pogacar was in crisis. Teammates and staff were obviously worried, and we were guessing. The warning light seemed to be flashing on the dashboard. Was he really about to run out of gas? But then a downhill section, a breather, and an interruption to the work ethic in the chase group. It was home and dry.
Attacking from 100 kilometres from the finish. And no wonder he's emotional. No wonder he's believed. Because he had to believe. It's Pog's world in professional cycling at the moment. And these are Pog's worlds. Today Pogacar and the rainbow jersey. The perfect fit. 100 kilometres. Winning in a style that only he knows.
Ben O'Connor had stolen a march to take second place. And Mathieu van der Poel took third, again on the podium. But the day was all about Tadej Pogacar. The Triple Crown for only the third time in history. Records, numbers. It was all about the performance though on the day. Unthinkable for most riders. Not for this man who had this reaction past the finish line. And then Pog gave us this explanation.
First and foremost, congratulations. You've been used to yellow, pink, now you're in the rainbow jersey. How is it to be the world champion?
Yeah, incredible. I cannot believe what just happened. And rainbow jersey, something that as a kid you don't dare, even you don't dare to dream to have a yellow, rainbow jersey. And I cannot believe it just happened. So I'm super happy.
Normally you're happy, you're always happy, but I think many of us saw the happiest Tadej Pogacar we've ever seen when you crossed the line and also on the podium. Tell us about the feeling of the win today.
I cannot really describe how I felt, but I can say that in the last hour or so or 2 hours of the race, I went through all the emotions as possible, and I just couldn't give up for everything that happened or will happen. I just couldn't give up, and I pushed through, and the emotions in the end was I'm still emotional, and I cannot believe what happened.
Finally, Tadej, you had a special moment with Urška. You were running to her afterwards. Can you try to describe that moment when you saw her?
It's hard to describe, but Urška is really big part of my life. She sacrificed. I think, she wouldn't say, but she sacrificed so much more than she would admit for my so happy that I have a person like her next to me.
The podium at the end of the week in Zurich. Tadej Pogacar, not just world champion, but perhaps the world champion.
Now, earlier in the week, before those awful events of the women's junior road race, I caught up with Grace Brown, who'd excelled among the seniors in the time trial and the team time trial, taking 2 rainbow jerseys to add to her Olympic gold medal. Well, we are privileged to be joined by Grace Brown, star of the season, history maker. Now, what is it? Let me try and remember this, Grace. Liège, Olympics TT, and now 2 times rainbow jerseys. I mean, how does it feel?
Yeah, it feels, I think, a bit unreal still. Like, yeah, a bit of an out-of-body experience, like someone else is doing it, to be honest.
I mean, I shouldn't really stop there because we are speaking just before the road race. How does that look for you? Can you imagine an even more of a fairy tale that was already a fairy tale hat-trick?
I think if I win the road race as well, it's becoming a bit of a joke. Like someone's playing a practical joke on me. But yeah, of course, we'll get out there on the weekend and see what we can do. But I would definitely not put myself in amongst the favourites for the road race.
Okay, if you're not putting yourself in amongst the favourites, one, there'll be a lot of people sat at home saying, I do not believe that for 1 minute, because she just won the Olympics at gold. She's taken 2 rainbows in the space of, 4 days when you took the individual time trial and then the team time trial. What has to go right for you? Because I also hear that there might be a bit of bad weather forecast on Saturday as well.
Yeah, not too worried about the weather. Like my Liège win was in pretty, well, yeah, not the worst conditions we've ever had for Liège, but it's never good there. But yeah, I think just the course is really difficult with the steep climbs. And yeah, in the women's peloton, like we've got Kopecky and Vollering who are really good on parcours like that. And for me, I think I have to be a little bit more tactical to try and avoid going head to head against them up the steep climbs. But yeah, obviously I'm in some good form and pretty strong at the moment. I just have to play to my strengths. So we'll see how we can make that work.
Have you talked about with the team as to how you're going to approach it? Do you have the full support of the team?
We've had some brief discussions yeah, when the team was first announced, but we haven't yet had our proper strategy meeting, and we've had a bit of a change with Amanda Spratt having to withdraw and being replaced by Tiff Cromwell, which will change things a little bit. But yeah, I don't know exactly how we're going to approach it yet.
Okay, in terms of the parkour itself, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of looking at Velo Viewer, there's a lot of Google Street Maps, there's a lot of things. But you rode some of the roads that will be used in that crazy team time trial that you won. What did the climbs tell you? Did they surprise you? Was it what you expected? Was it different?
Yeah, well, I've been around the course quite a few times now, so I feel pretty familiar with it. The first climb that we hit, the really steep one, is yeah, super difficult, but it's not very long. So I think what's going to happen is everyone will dig deep and survive the steep climb. And then the second, more draggy, long climb, people get a bit unstuck. Like you've gone deep and then you get hit again. And that's where I think riders will get dropped in the race. So we've already seen a little bit. I was watching the junior races today, and really, they were hanging in over that steep one, and then just all the screws came loose on the second climb. So I can imagine a similar thing happening in the elite races on the weekend.
Well, I wish you all the best of luck for the weekend, but of course the reason I really wanted to talk to you is to get your view on what you've achieved this season. Remind everybody of where you're going, because there'll be some disappointed viewers. Of course, you have your reasons. You can explain that to us and how it's felt. Let's go back to the Olympic Games. I mean, because that must have been absolutely incredible. We know you're a strong time trialist, but there's always that pressure, isn't there? And the whole world watching you at the Olympics. What did that feel like to bring the gold home there?
Yeah, I think going into the Olympics, like I felt really confident in the shape that I had. I was confident that I could execute on the course, but for an event like that, it's a once in a lifetime event, and the main thing in a time trial, you're just so nervous that one little thing will go wrong and derail all the preparation that you've put into such a big event. So yeah, just getting through it unscathed was like remarkable, especially in the conditions that we had there, not coming down like a lot of my competitors did. And yeah, I don't know. I was so focused on the event and what I needed to execute that it was hard for me to sort of work out how to feel about it afterwards when I realized that I'd won the gold medal. And it's just such a full-on experience, like especially it was the first day of the Olympics and Australia's first gold medal. So it was a really big deal. And I had a lot of media attention and everything. You basically don't have a chance to breathe after the event until, I don't know, at least 24 hours later. So I think I'm still catching up on how I feel about it, to be honest.
What was your phone like the day after? Because I guess that, with the time difference and everything, you've been on night shows, breakfast shows at all different times, and you would have been back in Europe thinking about your next objectives, I guess trying to soak it all in, but it must have gone crazy, the reaction back home.
Yeah, it was really full on. Like Australia loves the Olympics as well. So for me to win gold there, it was almost like suddenly people have understood what I've been doing all these years over in Europe, riding my bike. And it makes sense. And the level that I've been at, suddenly is explained to them with a gold medal performance. And I don't think I've received quite so many messages in my life. And it's quite overwhelming, really, because I like to respond to people, but it's a big job.
Well, you're going to have a bit more responding to do now, because just a few days ago, you won a rainbow jersey, your last individual world championship time trial. And, if that was already a dream, then I guess all the attention is double. Is it the same kind of reaction? Is it the same kind of attention you're getting? Or is this different, being, I guess, much more of a cycling specific thing?
Yeah, I think what I noticed is now with the World Championship jersey is it's like, for cycling, it's a real legitimizer of what I've achieved. Like for the cycling world, the rainbow jersey means more than a gold medal in the Olympics. Like the Olympics is more of a broad sporting achievement, whereas the rainbow jersey is like really nailing my name in the history of cycling. And I don't think I appreciated it as much before I won that. Like now I really feel, part of cycling like a proper star. So, it's really cool.
You are a star, Grace, and you were with other stars. You helped make other stars just 24 hours ago from when we're speaking, because Australia won the team time trial. I was lucky enough to be commentating on that. I really enjoyed the performance. I enjoyed the crazy heart attack finish that you all gave us. I mean, what was that like? 0.8 seconds, and you're there on the line having to wait to see what Italy can do, because there was only 7 seconds in that. Again, must have been a wonderful feeling, but again, I guess a different one, because you're sharing the joy, aren't you, this time with other people?
Yeah, definitely. Like I had no nerves going to the start ramp of the team time trial. It was a really weird experience, like so relaxed, but I knew that I had a hard effort ahead of me. And then the men did an awesome leg. They came in 20 seconds up, I think, on all the other men's teams. So, we started off in the lead when we started as the women. And we were quite confident, I think, that we would be strong, but we lost Ruby Roseman Gannon on the climb. And we were really we had been determined in our plan that we needed her over the top. So we didn't really make the decision to go on without her quick enough. We waited. And yeah, I mean, if we waited another split second, we would have lost the jersey. So yeah, I didn't realize how close it was in the end. You're just going full gas and just not knowing like whether you're up or you're down, but knowing that you don't want to have any regrets. So I'm glad that we dug as deep as we did in the final couple of Ks. Once we were down on the flat, we really just emptied the tank. So, and just, yeah, it's a different experience coming across the line and having a team there to celebrate with compared to the individual time trial where it's usually just yourself and your swan. Yeah. So that was really fun to have all the Aussies around to celebrate with.
What were the celebrations like? Because you've all got other stuff to do. The men are racing on Sunday and you're racing, just 3 days after that? Less than 3 days, really, when you counted it was afternoon, and you're going to be starting early doors on Saturday. I imagine they're muted for now, but you're going to have a big party after, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's slowly winding up. I mean, I had some beers on the bus, and then we all had, pizza at our hotel after the race. We thought we may as well celebrate. But yeah, we weren't getting home at 5 a.m. or anything, so not quite all out yet. But yeah, hopefully some more proper celebrations on the weekend.
That proves that our lip reading's still quite good on commentary, because I could have sworn I saw Michael Matthews talking about pizza on that podium yesterday. I guess you're going to start to see the same thing soon on the cycling, where they all do that, like the footballers do at the minute. But anyway, it must have... Maybe that one does have to wait until somebody wins the road race at the weekend. Again, we wish you luck in that, but I also wanted to ask you about something that I know you've spoken to Australian media at length at, but of course here in Europe and around the world on Eurosport and Discovery Plus. We know that you're retiring. We know that you're 32. How did you come, and why did you come to that decision to finish this year?
Yeah, it's sort of been a couple of years in the making, I guess. Like it's always been hard for me over in Europe. My husband lives in Australia. He has his own business there, and it's not really possible for him to move his life over to be with me here. So I've always been living this sort of separated existence in Europe, and having a really fulfilling career in cycling and loving it. But it just gets to the point eventually where you feel like the things that really matter in life are being put on hold. So this all that cycling has given me is slowly becoming not enough to make up for what I'm leaving behind in Australia. And also I've now had a lot of success, and it means that I've gone all in on cycling. I've seen what I can achieve when I give it my all, and I'm not. Lots of people retire and they have those what ifs. If only it was like this or that, and I gave a bit more, or I don't know what it is, but I've achieved more than I ever thought was possible, and I've really got no questions left to be answered in cycling. I will miss it. I'm not out of love with it, but I'm okay to let it go.
I mean, does it make it easier with what you've achieved in the last few months, or do you think that will make it harder when you go back? Because you're obviously it comes across you're extremely grateful for support of family, friends, your husband, as you say, and that must have been a big help. But like you say, with winning everything, and then the greatest mic drop or bike drop, whatever you want to call it in history, I think it's going to be Grace. Has that made you think about it again, honestly, or not?
I think I'm fairly confident in what I value and the decision that I've made. I feel sad from if I was a cycling fan, I'm sad for me to leave also. And yeah, also with the rainbow jersey to not be in the peloton next year, I think it's a pity. But yeah, I know that it's not a healthy thing to make decisions just to keep other people happy. So yeah, I know that it's still best for me to stick by the decision that I made, and not get carried away with the hype of my recent success to change my mind, and then halfway through next season feel a bit miserable about everything. So yeah, it's difficult. There's definitely I feel some pressure to change my mind, but I'm staying strong.
Do you know what, Grace? I think all cycling fans as well, as much as they will mourn the loss from the peloton of you not being able to fight for those races again, I think people, if they're honest with themselves, will really admire your honesty and the fact that you've been able to take such a decision under so much pressure. So I think on behalf of all cycling fans, we wish you all the best for that. A couple of things then. That bike drop might get even better yet, so we'll see what happens on Saturday. Will we see you racing again after the Worlds? I had a little rumour that you're going to do a couple more races and maybe one in the rainbow jersey, no?
Yeah, that rumour's correct. I've got 2 races after the World Champs. So I'm doing Tre Valley in Italy, and then I'll do Chrono des Nations in France, the time trial. So that'll be my last hurrah, and I will get to race in the rainbow jersey. So that's really exciting.
Is there a chance we'll see the rainbow jersey somewhere on the roads in Australia next year by a coffee shop, or if you ride to do your shopping or something like that? That's the crazy thing. You've got to get the time trial bike out at some point, and well, till next September you can ride around in the bands.
Yeah, take the gold bike out with the rainbow bands. So I think a lot of the cycling community back in Melbourne is excited to spot me out on the streets in with all the gear. So yeah, we'll see about that.
Just a couple more then, and we'll let you go, because I know you want to prepare for the road race on Saturday. We want you to get the best prep possible, despite what I'm being told is a pretty miserable day outside in Switzerland. Are you prepared for what awaits you when you got off that plane and finally get back to Australia?
I don't think so. I know that it's busy. I've got lots of requests for events and the likes already. But yeah, it's hard to anticipate that. Yeah, especially when you leave. Each time I come back to Australia, like my sort of status in cycling has grown, and people recognizing me a little bit more. I think I have maybe a naive assumption that it'll be a bit the same, but yeah, probably not.
Well, we wish you all the best in dealing with that, and more than anything, Grace, enjoying it, because you are and have been a brilliant ambassador for the sport. On that front, I want to ask you 2 things, because cycling, of course, you're leaving the sport, and I'm just scrolling down because I've written this down. I want to know, because you're leaving the sport, one thing you love about cycling, one thing that cycling's given you, and one thing that you would change for those who are coming after you and going to turn professional.
The one thing, I think the biggest thing that cycling has given me is a confidence to just like throw myself into the deep end and take risks. And a lot goes wrong in cycling, but when it goes right, it's amazing. So to just keep chucking yourself at the scary things. That's given me like a really great perspective on life in general, I think. The one thing that I would change about cycling is definitely the safety aspect, the crashing. That's the downside of our sport for sure. I know that it's exciting for viewers sometimes, but it's not fun when you're on the other side.
Well, Grace, I hope you come back and tell us what's next in a few months. For now, though, enjoy the end of the World Championships. Enjoy your last couple of pro races. We'll enjoy watching you, and we'll be looking out for that rainbow jersey outside a coffee shop in Victoria somewhere next year. Lovely to hear there from Grace Brown, and I'm sure you'll all join us in wishing her the happiest of retirements. That's not it for the road season on Eurosport and Discovery Plus. We're building up to the Giro di Lombardia, the final monument of the season and the final few weeks of the road season. The Italian classics are on their way. You can catch them on Eurosport and Discovery Plus. Check your schedules around the world for that. Plus, there will be highlights in shorter and long form across our Eurosport Cycling YouTube channel and on Discovery Plus itself. After that, it'll be cyclocross time. They'll be with you throughout the winter across the fields of North America and Europe. And the Track Champions League, 5 nights in Europe. Make sure you join us. Joanna Rousel will be with me as we go to those new venues in the Netherlands. For now, though, from us here at Eurosport Cycling and the Gruppetto, we will leave you with the memory of the late Muriel, who died this week at the age of just 18.